Hello, happy Saturday. Welcome to Grade 4, Unit 3, Topic 4. Today we are going to be learning about operations with decimals and operations when you have mixed decimals and fractions. Please go ahead and get out your capture sheet. We're going to learn operations with decimals and operations with mixed fractions and decimals. The only thing you have to do today is watch this video and complete this capture sheet. So we're going to start off with some addition and subtraction. The most important step here is to line up the decimal points. We'll do a practice problem for this. But for now, take a look at this example. These are the numbers right here, 51, 14.02, and 2.1. Right now, their decimal points are not lined up. When you write them vertically, you have to line up the decimal points. See, they're like the decimal points are all going down the middle. In order to do that, you may have to add placeholder zeros after the decimal points. See the purple and the blue? You add zeros after the decimal so that you can line up the decimals. All right, cool. Then you just add or subtract just like normal, and in your answer, the decimal point stays in the same place. So addition and subtraction, the decimal point just goes down, 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 and stays in the same spot the whole time. All right, let's take a look at a practice problem here. On my screen, you will see 4.52 plus 3.7. When we try to write them vertically, the decimal point will not be lined up. How many decimal places do we need to have in order to line them up? Let's see. Here we have 2 decimal places. Here we have 1 decimal place. Both numbers need to have 2 decimal places. Like this. 4.52 plus decimal point stays in the same spot. 3.70. Because remember, this 0 right here does not change the value of that number that we have, 3.7. Cool. Next up, just add normally. And bring the decimal point down. That should make sense. 4 plus 3 equals 7, and 8 is a little more than 7, right? That would be an estimate. If we're rounding, 4.5 would round to 5, 3.7 would round to 4, 4 plus 5 is about 9, so it's ballpark, right? You didn't get a crazy number like 822, right? That would mean you forgot the decimal point. Always remember the decimal point. Okay, let's take a look at one more addition problem here. This one is on your capture sheet. Okay. Again, we need to have the same number of decimal places. 16.43 plus the decimal point technically is there, and there's nothing after it, so 13.00. Add normally. Keep the decimal point. Okay, and that makes sense. Okay, sorry I lied before. We're going to do one last problem with addition here. Hopefully you're starting to see this pattern. It's a lot easier with decimals than with fractions, right? Oh yeah. .928 plus 4.03. Copy that into vertical form. We need to add an extra decimal place to our first number. Add a 0 because that does not change the value. And then add normally. Cool. Very cool. Alrighty, let's go ahead and take a look at subtraction. I'm not going to show the slide again because subtraction is basically the same as addition except you're subtracting. you have the same numbers. Well, not the same numbers, but it's the same process, okay? You need to line up the decimal places when you put it in vertical form. Here, we don't have to add anything because they have the same number of decimal places. Okay. All right. And that is your answer here. You just remember to bring the decimal point down. All right. Let's go ahead and do some of the ones that are on your capture sheet. You should be working these out along with me. Okay. Okay, we're going to copy it to vertical form, subtract, line up the decimal point, stays in the same spot, fill in the extra decimal place, or fill in the extra decimal place values with zeros because they don't change the value of the number, subtract normally. Cool. Alrighty. One last one that's on your capture sheet. For this one, I want you to pause and do it before I display the answer. Okay, step one is to put this in the vertical form. Decimal place stays in the same spot. Remember, our top number this time we need to add a placeholder 0. All right, and let's do this. That is your final answer here. Okay, we're going to learn about multiplication with decimals. Just like addition and subtraction, we need to order them vertically, line them up vertically, because that's how we do math. Here's where it gets a little more complicated though. You have to count how many total decimal places are in the factors, and that's how many decimal places there'll be in the product. Let's look at this example picture right here. 1.006 times 3.24. Here you see we have 3 decimal places in this factor, then 2 decimal places in this factor. Okay, again, that's 3 decimal places here, 2 decimal places here, and that gives us 3 plus 2 is 5 decimal places in the product. So that is the most complicated part of this. Okay, let's go to the whiteboard. There's a practice problem waiting for us. 4.5 times 0.19. The math is the same as the math that you know how to do. Okay, so you can go ahead and do that. Then you add. I know I'm doing this fast. So you take a look up here. This has 2, I'm so sorry, that's not right. This has 1 decimal place. This one has 2 decimal places. 1 plus 2 is 3. So you need to have 1, 2, 3 decimal places in your answer. So your final answer here is 1.026. Now here's another practice problem. This one is on your sheet. I'd like you to do it along with me, okay? You can pause if you don't need more time to do the multiplication. I know I'm doing this multiplication very fast. Now we add. Now here's the most important part. It's time to check on our decimal places. Up here we've got 1 decimal place, and here we have 1 decimal place, right? So that's a total of 2 decimal places in our answer. So that means your answer is 42.90, but we can actually take this 0 out, and just get 42.9, because that makes your answer a little less complicated. 42.9 is going to be our answer, or 42 and 9/10. Again, the reason we took out this 0 here is because it doesn't change the value when it's after the decimal point. Okay, here's our last practice problem. This one I would like you to try on your own. Okay, let's see how you did with that one. I'll show the multiplication steps here. And I'm not a magician. I'm not a fast multiplier either. I just have the steps written out here. Okay, and then we do our addition. Okay, so up here we have 0 decimal places. Great. And here we have 2 decimal places. So 0 plus 2 is 2. So we add 2 decimal places to this final answer, giving us 5.64. Okay, awesome. I hope that is the answer that you got. And let us talk now about a couple of things. We're going to talk about operations with mixed fractions and decimals. So if you had like 1/2 plus 0.25, right? There are 2 ways to do this. Here's way 1. Convert them to be both fractions and then add them, or do the operation. Okay, or convert them to be both decimals and then do the operation. You can't have mixed. Okay, you will get problems where they're mixed, right? But to do the operation, they can't be mixed. Okay, so that is that. Here's a note of caution. Personally, I think it's easier to do decimals, right? Because it's just remembering your place values. On a test, if I want you to do one way or the other, I'll tell you. If I don't tell you, it means you can do either way and leave the answer in either form. One quick thing, if you have repeating decimals, you can't add those. So you need to convert them to fractions if you've got repeating decimals, okay? So like 1/3 plus 1/2, or sorry, like 1/3 plus 0.5, you have to make those into fractions, because you can't have 0.5 plus 0.3 repeating. You can't add repeating decimals. You have to add those as fractions. All right. Sorry for all the talking. I'm not going to show a practice problem on that because it's just converting and then doing what you already know. Okay. So let's talk about division. You might be wondering why we didn't do division today, division with decimals. That is because it is quite complicated, and we are not going to do that yet. We will have another unit later this year all about division. We'll divide decimals, divide big numbers, okay, and that will be that. But we are going to skip decimal division for now. All right, so ordering mixed decimals and fractions. We ordered fractions last week and we ordered decimals last week, right? Greater than, less than, or equal to. Again, in order to do that, they need to either both be decimals or both be fractions in order to order them, okay? And you probably figured that out last week. I just wanted to touch on that. They need to be both decimals or both fractions. Finally, let's talk about improper fractions, or decimals with the whole number part. They act the same way. So if you get something crazy like 32 halves, right, that's totally fine. Improper fractions act the same way as normal fractions when you're doing these operations. Okay? Cool. Although you should never have 32 halves, because you can simplify that to 16, right? Okay. Let's come back up here. Your only thing to turn in today is the capture sheet. If you have questions, please go ahead and see me. Let me make it so you can actually see me. That's not me. Okay. If you need any help, go ahead and come see me, and I'll be happy to help you with this topic or any other topics. Have a great weekend. You'll have practice tomorrow.